hit record. So you see, this is what I've written right now. And I said that how we can access the X and Y. And this is how you can access X and Y. And then what you're going to do is that return return result. And now I'm going to how am I going to run this ad? How am I going to run this ad? I'm going to say that how can I come to this part? Can you tell me? If I want to run this ad, how can I reach over there? Ad. It's object dot. Because this function is basically a part of this object, right? If you want to do a function called add function, and that's the name of it, how will you reach to this point? In order to reach this point, you need to just put object add dot add, right? And then you can call the function. All right. So let me just go to the debug console at the same time. And let me just run this piece of code. And how do you run? Start debugging. And you see, it directly came to this point, and now it's going to add it. And I got the result. That means the values are accessed using this X. So this X is holding the value 10, and this Y is holding the value this dot Y. Okay, so that's sort of a very important thing that you will see why I said that, how to access it. Because when we move ahead into a very special thing where we call that as a base controller, then this will come as a role play. So inside the object, just pass this dot X and you can get the value. And now let me just go back to the point where, and then I'll come back to this thing. Don't forget it. Don't forget it, okay? Although it looks very simple and some values are passed over x10, y10 and something like that, but it does address a very important thing that's going to come ahead and will help you in your understanding as well. Now, if I go back to the code and come to my part over here, so as I said that, we're going to do some changes over here where we want to convert the things into the uppercase. Which would be coming through a formatter file. So we can just come over here in the file that we are working right now, the folder, I'm sorry, and inside the web app, we will just put a new folder and we will call that folder as capital F. Not necessary, you can just put anything. I'm passing a formatter over here. And I hit OK. So you will see that a new folder got added into the list. And inside that, we're going to add a new file that we will call as formatter. That is, I break that into for, F-O-R, and matter. Matter means anything that's got weight, that matter. So easy for me to actually see the spelling for matter. Okay. Now, once having reached to the thing, formatter is a JS file. So a scaffolding template is required. And this is how we're going to put that, define, after that, a square bracket, and after that, a comma, and then you write a function, and then go ahead with this, and a curly brace, part it, hit enter over here, and just create some space, and use strict mode, and then we're going to return. That's a very important thing that we need to pass, since it's not some sort of like we are using a control. It's not a controller, simply a JS file that we are making over here. inside the ui5 project. So whenever you want to make a JS file inside a project, this is how it should be. You're not taking any controller and then passing it to our own controller, super controller, passing its properties into your own controller. We're not doing that over here. So this is how we're gonna just make a formatter.js file. Much the same way as we did in the model.js, we're gonna do the same thing over here. So we're going to say uppercase. This is the name of the function that we're going to make uppercase, and you see uppercase. So this I missed part of it. Function over here, and what is this? Okay, it's looking for semicolons. So I just made an uppercase, and I'm just if it is receiving some input value. So these are the input values it will be receiving, and then it would be changing it. So if it receives an input, then if it receives an input, then it's going to change it. I think, okay, everything is okay. So input, some input value, dot, and method, we did it to uppercase is the method, and right, and then let me just make var result. What are the results we'll be getting after the input has been changed to uppercase? And now the interesting part is, where shall I return it? Inside or outside? Return result. So we are returning the result. Okay, so this is one of the things that we are supposed to do. Now, of course, the formatter, whatever you write doesn't matter, unless your controller knows about it. Okay, and you see your controller. How did the controller know about the model? You pass this thing. It says that there is a file that is called as a model. So there is a reference made. In here too, you're going to make a reference. And the reference would be the same namespace. It's formatter and formatter. Small. Formatter, right? So this is how we're going to do that. And this interesting part that's going to come over here is that I'm going to write something over here. You see that? Let me just say some variable. And inside that, I'm going to write formatter that is there. Rather than writing things on my own, I'm going to paste it and put a comma. Should not show me over here. And why is that? Formatter is not defined. Okay, yay. So I did not define it. Of course, when I scaffold it, or when I scaffolded it, define it. Now it's defined. Now you see things become so like something I passed over here with this kind of a thing. You've been like seeing on init function, you've been seeing on row press, and you've been seeing this thing and this thing, and see the things are so okay, right? All of a sudden, something of this sort came, and unless you see it in a broader perspective, you won't be able to understand how it is possible. And you see the same kind of a thing I have made over here. If you take a look at it closely, you would see that inside this this curly brace object, okay, I've got x equals to 10. I've got y equals to 20. And then I added, made a function over here. And then with a comma, you just keep a check. I can add more function over here. And let's say something like this, and this, and this, and this, and something console.log. Now, do you see the commonality between the two? It's simply an object that is holding multiple things inside it. Much the same way, you see, it is, where is the thing? It is simply an object, you see, that is holding the things in the same way, like some variable for matter. It's like x equals to 10. Then you can even add like some more thing, some more variable, and its value that you will be passing, right? Something like that. All right. So I'm not doing it, but you understood what I'm saying. So it's one value and means one property in that value with, and then another one with a function, another one with a function. So you see that this is how the whole structure is, like this one, right? X 10, Y 20, add function, subtract function, something like that inside an object. So the problem is, why am I bringing your notice to this particular thing? Because, you know, the broader view, if it is not presented to you, you would end up thinking about where to put this and why all of a sudden we have been writing something like this, which is in no way, written in the ways we have been writing it, right? But when you see the whole thing in totality, you will understand that since this is an object in which you are writing things, then you will see, okay, fine, then we can add more of those, like x equals 20, y equals something. And if you want to access this inside any of the function, can you tell me how can you access some variable inside any of the function? This dot some var, the way you have accessed it over here, this dot x. All right. In the same way, you can access this some var, some variable, as if you want to use that. And a day before yesterday, I'm going to say 2 days back, when we were doing, and inside that we used this for making a global variable. Remember? You remember that thing? Where did we do that? Can you just guide me through? We did this thing. Somewhere we used this to make it not in this one, because it's not in this one. I think in some other one we did that in this. Let me just go ahead quickly and show it to you. This controller, this. Okay, do you see that this dot button? That means if you want to make this O button somewhere over here like this, like let's say if you really wanted to do that, just now you said you can access any value using this dot button, this dot something, like in the last one, as I asked the question from you. Let me just minimize it so that I can just show it to you. You can access it some var, this dot some var inside some function, right? Don't you think the same thing is happening over here? This dot button actually is present over here with some button like this dot. Right now, I have to think the ways out to deal with this particular thing. What shall I be writing over here to be, let's say, true or something? Maybe true or false, something I'm providing it. And then I put a comma, and I don't know what value it is holding this time, but then let's say, so what I'm trying to actually tell is that you can access O button over here using this dot O button. All right. And then it's going to hold the value for it. What are the value have passed over here? Much the same way you're doing the things over. If you want to access this some variable and this variable is actually holding this for matter inside it, whatever the thing that is there inside it, whatever value, whatever object that's there inside it is passed into some variable. All right. So just keep that thing in mind because we're going to use that in future. And let's say, it's if it is happening this way, directly passing inside the, so we can use this and making this a property of the controller, right? So we don't have to specifically pass this thing over here, okay? Because it becomes a part of the controller. We don't need any kind of a help of this sort. But sometimes we do. We'll see that why we need that. And so you got the point, right? Now coming back to our own controller, because we don't want to write codes in some, okay. Okay, v1 dot controller over here, and here we passed some variable formatter. Okay, now you saw that, like when you write press, then you say on press, you write on row press, like row selection or whatever the name of the function is. Let me just go over there and check it out. Row selection change, then you write on press. So there are link is, you see the link is now defined over here. So this on row press is actually passed inside the view. We are reversing the whole thing this time. We started from the controller and we have to go into the view now. So this is the part that will link the view and the controller, right? Like this part on row press links the view and the controller. You see on row press, and then there is something over here. Now let's come to the point where we want to make changes. And where do you want to make changes? We want to make changes over our EMP name, right? We want to make it. So let's go to the place where we are getting the information here, this part. And this part actually is bringing all the data over here. So here we have to make the change. So I'll just keep this thing over here for now. I'll do a Control C so that I should know what I'm doing. And just what you see, I commented the piece of code, and now what I will do is I'll just do some changes. Okay, so for that you need to know the syntax, what you want to do. So for that you can, of course, you can just come to my PPT and then you will try to see those things. Okay, so this is how you see that. So first thing, this is how you bound the thing earlier, the property name and the binding path. Like, if you don't believe me, this is the property name and this is the binding path, EMP Dan model EMP name. Agreed? And then this is the old syntax. The new thing becomes something like this that you see. So let's come and do the thing over here. So which is why I just, so it tells me the how, let me just show it, see it, and the property name is the same. You see the property name, that is the value. Let me just delete from here the thing that it is there and put that in an object. You see, I'm just creating an object over here. Clear? Make your mind clear that we are creating an object. That means a property and a value, property and a value. Simple, right? So if you see things in that way, things won't be confusing. Then how do you do that? You pass, let's say this is the property, okay? And there must be some value. So see, I'm putting single quotes over here, like we do in property value, comma, property value, comma, property value. Since you already have double quotes over here, so you need to pass a single quote, and there are comma, and there is another value, right? And that, I'm saying there is another property that property is called as formatter, right? So, and there is another value for it. So I'm putting that in quotes. You just check it and you will understand what I'm saying. What is it? It's an object, property, and a value, property, and a value. All right. What are the properties? These are keywords. You can't just put your own words over here. Path and formatter are the keys. It means keywords. You just can't put any name over here. And after that, it says that put the path. Just put the path over here. So which is why I kept the code, and I just want to just copy the code and paste over here. Remember, do not put the curly brace, because whenever you're binding, you have been seeing this binding with the curly brace always. So your mind is trained to see curly braces before the binding details that you put. So if you are not looking into some kind of a help, then you might remember the path and the formatter, property value. But here you'll get stuck. Should I put the curly brace or not? So do not put. You already have one curly brace over here. And here we're going to pass the dot. These are the syntax that, so inside this value, what is the name? So some variable, the name, this thing, connectivity I'm talking about again, like on row press is already there. Some kind of connectivity was maintained. So I'm just maintaining the connectivity like this, some dot, some variable, and dot is very important. Once it goes inside, it gets the object of formatter. This is what we want to achieve, uppercase. So we'll come over there and put uppercase, right? And no parenthesis, right? And the thing is done. Everything we have done is in nice way. And now we expect the thing to work properly. We have not done any mistake anywhere. So I'm thinking that I've done some mistake over here. Let me just check. I'm going to click the code and see if everything ran fine for me. And nope, there is problem. And the problem is we need to check. And the greatest help is the console. And it would talk about some kind of module error. And of course, the module error is here. Let me just see. For that, I need to just click on it. It will take me to the right folder. And you see form. Okay. Okay, no problem. So we'll just keep that as form. No, let me remove this R from there. So there was the module error. And now just click the whole thing and see if they're working properly or not. And if you see, we have got the result. So you see that everything became the way it was. Okay, so we use the formatter for doing that. Now another use case is we have got the salary and the currency, and they are like 3,000 and USD. So what I want them to be like, they have to be clubbed into one, so that my 3,000 USD should come together, because it doesn't look nice. And then we will use formatter to format the data and get it in the required way. The first requirement over here is you need to just club the two columns. And it is a very simple way to do that. But there is a caveat. Again, I'm telling you, because I've been doing these mistakes hundreds of times. And then I forget, okay, this is the thing I missed. You know, if your index.html, whether you have used formatter or not, whether you have done anything, but once you go for type of complex things like combining the two rows, and if you have not set this thing to complex, you know, because you would be thinking in order to format the things, or going for expression binding, you know, because we used the first time for expression binding, right? Remember, we did the expression binding, and there we needed that kind of thing, you know, this thing. And if you don't remember, let me just take you to 2 slides before, 2 or 3. You see, it says that, you know, if you want to use the expression binding, you need to set this to this thing. Also, what I'm saying is that if this thing is not set to complex, and if you're trying to club the two, you know, it won't club. And you would think it was so easy to club. You know what I did? Let me just show it to you. If I don't bring your notice to this particular thing, let me just club. So where is the salary? Okay, here's the currency. What I'm going to do is that I'll just cut this part. You can see that, the currency part. I'll just copy it, and I'll put that next to salary. I'm doing nothing at all, you see. And now if I refresh the page, you will see that the 3,000 USD got clubbed with the currency, right? So since I don't need the currency anymore, so I'll just comment this piece of code, and I'll refresh the thing, and you'll see the two things got clubbed. Now, what if I just remove this thing from there? Where is thing? It is it's in the index.html, and I just want to remove it. Let me double check it. What I said was correct or not. And you see EMP salary is not coming. And you'll be like, it was such an easy thing. I just brought the thing over here and added it, and the two things got clubbed. And why it's not coming? Because every time maybe you're not doing expression binding. You just want to club the two fields. At that time, you will not, call up that. Another important thing that has to be set at the index.html is this thing. Okay. So right from the very beginning, as a caveat, you should just set this to complex, and this complexities will be met on its own by the framework. So now you see things are going good for us. Now the question is, we want to convert this 3000 USD into some sort of, let me just see one more thing if it works for us or not. I'll go to this point and press a comma over here, and let's see, does a comma come over there? And I just placed a comma between the two bindings. So the comma is coming away. I just wanted to check it if it's coming or not. Fine. So you can just go ahead and do that later. But this is not the real thing that we are trying to do, whether to put comma between the two or not. What we are actually trying to do is that using the formatter, can we use some UI5 framework stuffs to format it into their symbol form? USD, INR, there's a symbol form for all of these things. And you know what the symbol form, it's like a S $sign. And for INR, it's like a R and a cross to it. And you know that, right? So again, we need to go to the formatter over here. And since one function is done for us, we will say format currency. Format currency. We're calling this thing as a format currency. Okay. And then we're passing this thing, and then we're passing a function, the same thing that we do. And here we pass a thing. That's a curly brace. And now we have to go into the thing that is called as this thing. That's called as decay. That comes in handy because you cannot remember the codes, right? So here we'll just type format currency. We are in the wrong place. We should be in the documentation section. Format. Okay, before going ahead, tell me, is the formatter working for you guys? Because I'm sure it's not working. Your formatter is working, but nobody is working, right? I expected it would not work because it's sort of a clumsy thing, okay? Yeah, and I will hold for a second for the format currency over here. And let's first see your formatter should work. Otherwise, So you see in the view, remember two things. Don't go into the code and try to see it. Just remember this thing. Where do you want to do the formatting? And you want to do the formatting on the value part, right? Where you have the binding for the EMP name. All right, this is the thing that you want to format. Am I correct? Put a curly brace. That is an object, right? An object inside quotations. Got it? Pass two properties. What are two properties? Path and the formatter. No, path and the formatter. Keep the minds clear. Path and the formatter. These are two properties. And of course, when you pass, you need to pass a colon for both of the things and the value for each of the properties. This is what. Let me just show it to you once again. Before you should write it, because every time, let's say, do you want to go again and do the thinking again and again rather than put some kind of good things. The value part you want to format. This was the earlier expression in this. It is the DAN model. Let me just pause the video now. So we have to look for how to format the currency. Now, the thing is that this is how it is, and we want to just format these two things. Okay, so for that, we wanted to just reach to the documentation section of the SDK, and we will just pass format currency in the documentation. Unfortunately, we're not getting anything, and I don't know why. Okay, let's see formatter or something like that. Formatting currency, do you see anywhere? Let me just type currency then. Okay, you see currency formatting. So if you come to this part, currency formatting, you will see that how the things are being. So here you see the output you get is something like this. If you format using these things, the output is euro, and what the value over here is. So this is how the value was before, and this is how after formatting the value is now. Okay, but we are not interested in getting. And in this case, you see if you have something like this, the euro is first and the value is second, and you want the values in dot like this, then this is what the output is if you use this part. Okay, and then you come to this part now. If you already have things in dollar and the number value, what the value is, so if you want to return it to this part, USD type, so you can use this code over here. And also if you have, so it works the reverse way. If you have something like this, you can just use the same thing with a format and a pass. Okay, so our case is this thing. This is how it is right now, and we want to get the result in this, like dollar 1234. So we'll be using this thing, and it also says that if you want to use it, you need a module. You know, a module is some kind of functions. Those already pre-programmed. You just need to call into your function. So I'm just going to use this module. First thing I'm going to do, SAP UI core format, number format. Okay, and then I'll go into the code over here, and first I'll put the quotation, and then I'm going to put it SAP UI core format, number format. Okay, save it. After that, just go back to the code once again, and now just copy the whole thing. Number format, we already have it. Now get currency instance and currency code equals false. So here we're going to pass the whole thing. Let me just push it to this side a bit. Okay. After that, you need to just go back to this code, and once you get O currency format, this is what we are expecting to get, and this is how what our things are. All right. So I'm just also going to take that thing because this is how our case is. And so whether this is the case or this is the case, they both are the same thing. So it's saying Japan yen is converted to some kind of Japan Y. You can see N double is there to bars, and for dollar is this. So same kind of thing. Whatever the currency is, it will get changed to that thing. So I'm going to pass that thing over there. All right. Okay. So, but interesting part is what it is doing is that there are hard coded data over here. That is, it's only going to convert something like this to USD 1234. But we know every time our data is different. So let's use a comma before it in the view. I don't know. I have not used it, but this time I'm using it. Let's see what result we get. So that I should also see a comma between the two. So you see, I'm seeing the comma because why? I saw that, they have been using commas also over here. So I just put it over there. I don't think it makes create much of a difference. It creates much of a difference. Now you should come to our formatted part of the code. So we have got two parameters. That's the value of what money you are putting in and the currency code for it. So I need to pass two parameters over here, A and B, right? Or you can say whatever the number is and whatever the unit is. So it doesn't matter what value you pass to just take. So in the same way, instead of hard-coded stuff over here, we would be taking the numbers. And for unit, we would be taking units over here, all right? And it says that number format is not defined. Why? Because number format, we just scaffolded it, but we did not pass it inside the function. Now number format is, so once we get the result, so this is the result. So we're going to store that in a result because we have to return something over here. And after that, we're going to say that, where are we right now? Okay, we just came out of the function all of a sudden. Control X. There's like keep a clear distinction between the stuffs. Okay, and now return this result. Return RE, return result. So whatever result I'm going to get, I'm going to return it. So job's done now. But another very, very important part that's left, how will our view knows? Because there is something called as formatter, and this code has to be run before changing the data over here. So for that, you need to come to this part where your codes are. And this time, it's quite a complex one this time. You see, so again, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to copy this thing, text, and also I'm going to comment this piece of code. And now if I refresh it, you will see that we don't have any data. We don't even have anything at all in there. At least we should have got the EMP salary, but there isn't any. EMP salaries, the whole thing is gone. Fine, we'll just go ahead and do the coding and see how we can deal with it. So what is the, so I'm just going to paste it once again, because this is where, this is the property where I'm going to code. Remove it. All right. Now, again, the curly brace, the object, and partition, right? Part. The same way we did over here. If you remember, value, and then an object and the partition, all right? So here we have got now two things, parts. Last time we used path. Now we have got parts over here. And of course, the formatter is there. Formatter is there with the same set of values. What? Dot, let me just put it, dot formatter dot was the name. Once it reaches over here, it says that go and format the currency. All right. And to the parts, here there's a problem. Here we have got two of these things. We don't have a simple one thing. So when you want to accommodate two things, then you need array. All right. So this path, here you see parts. So now instead of path, I'm having parts over here. Inside that, I'm going to pass two objects now. Here, one, and here, two objects I'm passing. And then it has got a path and the value. Now I'm coming to path and the value. This thing. And for the other thing, I'm coming path and the value for it. All right. It became paths. That's the problem. Now put these paths inside it. Because we have multiple paths, which is why we took that in an array in a curly brace. And now we're just going to part this thing. Oh no, whole thing. Inside it. And the whole thing. Currency. Control C. Inside it. Done it. So R2, it is an array that has got one of the object. Inside the object, I'm just writing these two things. Right. So now just save it and come to the part where we have done it. If everything goes well, then we will be having nothing. And why? Let me just pause the recording for a while because let me just see. So you see, instead of for matter, it's actually not for matter, it is some variable. It is some variable over here. Why have I used some variable over here? So that I should not think that it's some kind of a keyword. So which is why you can put your name as well over here. No problem. Now let's go and refresh the thing. Let's see if we get the things or not. Still, we haven't got it. Very quickly, just go to the inspect section and console and see. Okay, there is some kind of an error over here, and there is some kind of a problem. So let's quickly check once again. Although we pass dot some variable format currency, that's the name of it. Dan model emp sal Dan model currency, and some kind of a thing that we've been missing. Let's go to the structure and see once again that formatted thing. Okay, so I think it is absolutely the same thing that I've done over here. Okay, very quickly go to, yeah, just please say it. Line number 39. Line number 39. Okay, go. Whoops. Which is why I create, basic structure first, so that, these small little things should not, because once the code becomes bigger, it really is a problem. And voila. That means you already got the result? Uh-huh. Before me? Okay, so I got the results. Okay, so let me just pause the video now.